I took the job because I owed $47,000 in student loans, and the Forest Service was offering housing, a government salary, and a posting in the Absaroka Range, where nobody would ask about the gaps in my resume. The listing said Patrol Ranger, Backcountry Division, stationed at Outpost 16 in the Gallatin sector. I applied on a Tuesday and received a conditional offer by Friday. They wanted me to start within 2 weeks. The drive from Billings took 4 hours. I followed Highway 89 through Livingston, then turned onto a series of unmarked forest roads that my GPS lost track of after the first 30 miles. The directions they mailed me were handwritten on a photocopied map, each turn numbered and annotated with mileage down to the 10th. Turn left at the cattle guard, 0.3 miles. Bear right at the split boulder, 1.7 miles. Do not take the road marked with orange tape. Outpost 16 was a single-story log structure built into a clearing at 7,000 feet. There was a propane tank behind it, a generator shed, a flagpole with no flag, and a truck with government plates parked on a gravel pad. The windows were covered with heavy shutters from the inside. A man named Delacroix met me at the door. He was maybe 60, lean, with a beard that had gone gray in uneven patches. He wore the standard uniform, but no name tag. He did not shake my hand. "You're Ellison," he said. "Yes, sir." "You're early. That's good." He stepped aside. "Leave your bags in the truck for now. There's a process." The interior was clean and sparse. A main room with a wood stove, a radio console, a desk, a cot, a kitchenette through one door, a storage room through another, a bathroom at the far end. The walls were bare except for a topographical map of the patrol sector and a corkboard with printed schedules. There was a second cot folded against the wall, 2 chairs, one window faced east, one faced south, and both were shuttered. Delacroix handed me a ring with 12 keys. Each was labeled with white tape and a number. "Memorize these tonight," he said. "Keys 1 through 4 are for this building. 5 and 6 are the truck. 7 through 12 are for the trail caches." Trail caches. Supply boxes bolted to trees every 4 miles on the main routes. Water, flares, first aid. You check them weekly. You log what you use. He walked me through the radio protocol. Channel 6 was the primary frequency for dispatch at the main ranger station, 43 miles southeast. Channel 9 was the emergency override. Channel 4 was weather. He showed me the daily log, a green ledger with handwritten entries going back 11 months. Each page was divided into columns for time, location, observation, and action. The handwriting changed every few pages. "How long have you been here?" I asked. 7 weeks. "And before you?" "Someone else." He did not elaborate. He gave me an hour to unpack and settle. I brought my duffel inside and stowed it under the cot. The storage room held shelves of canned food, batteries, water jugs, flares, a first aid cabinet, 2 spare radios, a case of salt, a box of chalk sticks, and a row of flashlights. Everything was inventoried on a clipboard. I counted 28 cans of beans, 14 cans of corn, 9 gallons of water, 44 flares, and 6 boxes of batteries. The salt came in 5-pound bags. There were 11 of them. When I came back out, Delacroix was sitting at the desk with a folder. "Sit down," he said. I sat. He slid a single sheet of paper across the desk. It was typed, the font small, the margins tight. At the top, in bold letters, it read, "Patrol Protocol. Outpost 16, Absaroka Sector." "Read it now," he said. "Then read it again before bed. Then again in the morning. I need you to know it by heart before I leave." I looked at the paper. There were 14 numbered items. I read them slowly. 1. Patrol routes must be completed in pairs. If your assigned partner is unavailable, do not patrol. Wait for relief or reassignment. 2. Between the hours of 2:15 a.m. and 2:45 a.m., remain inside the outpost with all doors locked and all shutters closed. Do not look out. Do not respond to sounds. 3. If you hear footsteps behind you on the trail, do not turn around. Maintain your pace. Do not speak. If the footsteps persist for more than 4 minutes, increase your pace to a jog and proceed directly to the nearest cache or structure. 4. Count the members of your patrol group every 7 minutes. Use a silent count. Do not announce the count aloud. If the number has increased, do not acknowledge the change. Return to the outpost immediately. 5. The South Trail closes at 4 p.m. without exception. Any hiker still on the South Trail after 4 p.m. must be escorted out by vehicle. Do not allow them to walk. 6. If a hiker asks about a shortcut through Miller's Basin, do not acknowledge the question, change the subject. If they persist, end the conversation and note their description in the log. 7. Do not respond to your name being called from the tree line after dark. Do not respond to any voice from the tree line after dark unless you can see the speaker's full body and face in direct light. 8. If you encounter an animal walking backward, return to the outpost immediately. Do not approach. Do not photograph. 9. The maintenance cabin at mile marker 12 is off limits between dusk and dawn. You may approach the cabin during daylight for scheduled inspections only. Do not enter after dark under any circumstances. 10. If the radio produces 3 clicks followed by silence, switch to channel 9. Do not transmit. Listen for 4 minutes. If no further communication occurs, return to channel 6 and log the event. 11. Do not touch unattended belongings found on the trail. Mark the GPS coordinates, photograph from 10 feet, and report to dispatch. Do not move closer than 10 feet. 12. If you find a hiker who does not remember how they reached their current location, do not escort them to the outpost. Keep them at the trailhead shelter until dispatch sends a vehicle. Do not allow them inside any structure you intend to return to. 13. During any patrol, maintain voice contact with your partner at intervals no greater than 3 minutes. If your partner stops responding, do not search. Return to the outpost and radio dispatch with your partner's last known coordinates. 14. If you observe a second moon reflected in still water, do not approach the water. Avert your eyes. Leave the area. Log the location and time, but do not return to that site for 72 hours. I set the paper down. What is this? Delacroix was watching me. Protocol. For what? For staying alive out here. I waited for him to explain. He didn't. He just looked at me with eyes that were calm and tired and very patient. I don't understand half of these, I said. You don't need to understand them. You need to follow them. Sir, with respect, if I'm going to patrol 100 square miles of backcountry, I need to know what I'm dealing with. No, he said. You don't. He leaned back in his chair. I've been here 7 weeks. I followed the protocol. I'm still here. The person before me was here for 3 months. She followed the protocol. She transferred to a desk job in Helena, and she's fine. The person before her didn't follow the protocol. He tapped the edge of the desk. He's not fine. What happened to him? We don't know. That's the point. I looked at the paper again. I read Rule 3, Rule 4, Rule 7. I read Rule 14 about the second moon. My hands were steady. My heart was doing something else. You leave tomorrow? I asked. Day after. I'll walk you through 2 full patrol cycles first. You'll see how it works. The protocol keeps you alive. The moment you treat it like a suggestion, you're done. That night, I slept in the cot by the east wall while Delacroix took the one near the stove. The shutters stayed closed. At 2:15 a.m., I woke to footsteps outside. They circled the building slowly, evenly, at a pace that matched a walking human. They did not pause. They did not speed up. They circled for exactly 30 minutes, and then they stopped. I did not look out. In the morning, Delacroix made coffee, and we ate oatmeal from packets. He checked the radio at 7 a.m. Sharp and confirmed our status with dispatch. Channel 6, all clear. Today, we walk the North Loop, he said. 8 miles round trip. We leave at 0900 and return by 1400. You carry the pack. I carry the rifle. Rifle? Bears, mountain lions, things with teeth. And the things without teeth. He didn't answer. The North Loop began 50 yards behind the outpost, where a trail marker was bolted to a pine tree. The marker was faded orange with a white number 16. Delacroix walked ahead of me, maybe 10 feet, his rifle slung over one shoulder. The trail was narrow and well-maintained, switching back through lodgepole pine and subalpine fir. The air smelled like resin and cold stone. Every 7 minutes, I counted. Delacroix ahead of me, myself, 2. At the first mile, we passed a trail cache bolted to a tree. Delacroix unlocked it with key 7 and inventoried the contents. 4 flares, 1 first aid kit, 2 liters of water, 1 emergency blanket. He checked each item against a laminated list and made a note in a small notebook. He relocked the cache. You'll do this every Tuesday and Friday, he said. You count everything. You note discrepancies. If anything is missing, you radio dispatch before you leave the cache site. Has anything ever been missing? Once. 2 flares and the water. Hikers? We don't get many hikers on the North Loop. Too remote. We kept walking. The trail climbed steadily, cresting a ridge with a view of the valley below. The mountains were blue and distant. There was no wind. Voice check, Delacroix said. Here, I said. Every 3 minutes, no exceptions. If I stop responding, you don't search, you leave. I read the protocol. Reading is not the same as doing. At mile 3, we stopped at a stream crossing. The water was clear and fast. Delacroix crouched at the bank and filled a canteen. I stayed on the trail. Rule 14, I said. About the reflection. What about it? Is it real? He capped the canteen and stood. Everything in the protocol is real. That's why it's in the protocol. Have you seen it? No. He started walking again. The woman before me did. She said the reflection was wrong. The sky had too many lights. She looked away and left the area like she was supposed to. He glanced back at me. She followed the protocol. She's fine. We reached the turnaround point at mile 4. There was a small clearing with a rock cairn and a wooden sign that read, End of Maintained Trail. Beyond it, the forest grew thicker, darker. I could not see more than 20 feet into the trees. Delacroix checked his watch. 12:30. We head back now. I looked at the dark trees. What's beyond the sign? Nothing you want to find. We walked back. Every 7 minutes I counted. Delacroix ahead of me. Myself. 2. Always 2. At mile 2, I heard footsteps behind us. They were soft and rhythmic, matching our pace exactly. I did not turn around. Keep walking, Delacroix said. His voice was calm. He did not look back either. The footsteps continued for maybe 3 minutes. They were close, maybe 15 feet behind me. I could hear the crunch of pine needles, the soft impact of weight on packed earth. The sound was human. It was perfectly human. Then it stopped. We kept walking. We did not speak. We reached the outpost at 1:47 p.m. Delacroix unlocked the door, stepped inside, and waited for me to follow before locking it behind us. "Log it," he said. I sat at the desk and opened the green ledger. I wrote 12:47 hours, North Loop, mile 2. Footsteps behind patrol for approximately 3 minutes. Did not observe source. No contact. Delacroix looked over my shoulder and nodded. "Good, now you understand." The second day, we walked the East Loop, 12 miles, a full 8 hours. The protocol was the same. Voice check every 3 minutes. Count every 7. We passed 3 caches and inventoried each one. The contents were correct. At mile 6, we found a backpack on the trail. It was blue nylon, the kind you could buy at any sporting goods store. It was sitting upright in the middle of the path, straps arranged neatly, as if someone had set it down and walked away. Delacroix stopped 10 feet from it. I stopped beside him. "Mark the coordinates," he said. I pulled out my GPS and recorded the position. Latitude 45.2817. Longitude -110.4392. Photograph it. I took 3 pictures with my phone. The backpack, the trail, the surrounding trees. Do not touch it. I know. Some people forget. They see a bag, they want to help. They pick it up, they look inside. He shook his head. Don't. We walked around the backpack, giving it a wide berth. It stayed where it was. I looked back once, and it was still sitting there. Straps neat, zipper closed. "Whose is it?" I asked. "We'll find out. Dispatch will send someone to collect it. They have procedures." "Different from ours?" "Yes." We completed the loop without further incident. Back at the outpost, I logged the backpack with its coordinates and sent a radio report to dispatch. The woman on the other end, the dispatcher, whose voice I would come to know well, thanked me and said a recovery team would handle it within 48 hours. "Did they say anything else?" I asked Delacroix. "No, they never do." That night, Delacroix gave me the amendments. He handed me a second sheet of paper, this one handwritten. The ink was blue, the handwriting cramped and careful. At the top, it read, "Supplementary notes, updated." "These are additions to the main protocol," he said. "Things we've learned, things that have changed." I read the amendments. 1. If the temperature inside the outpost drops more than 15 degrees within 5 minutes, do not investigate the cause. Seal the interior door to the storage room. Wait until the temperature stabilizes. 2. During patrols, if you observe a hiker wearing a ranger uniform, do not approach. Radio dispatch and confirm all personnel locations before making contact. If dispatch cannot confirm, treat the individual as a non-contact. 3. If you hear your partner's voice coming from a direction opposite to their actual position, do not respond. Maintain visual contact with your partner. Do not separate. 4. The trail cache at mile marker 8 on the South Loop must be inspected by 2 personnel. Never approach alone. If your partner is incapacitated, return to the outpost and request backup. 5. Between dusk and dawn, don't open the south-facing window shutter under any circumstances. The east shutter may be opened briefly for ventilation, but must be closed and latched before 2 a.m. 6. If a hiker claims to be lost and asks to be taken to a location not on the official map, refuse. Escort them to the nearest trailhead and contact dispatch. Do not transport them to any location they specify. 7. During radio silence windows, if you hear a transmission that uses yesterday's call codes, do not respond. Log the event and wait for the silence window to end. I set the paper down. Radio silence windows. Every night from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m., the radio stays on, but you don't transmit. You don't respond to anything you hear. Why? Because some of the transmissions aren't real. I didn't know what to say to that. Delacroix left the next morning. He packed a single duffel, checked the truck, and stood by the door for a moment, looking at the outpost like he was memorizing it. "You'll be alone for 2 weeks," he said. "Then they send a replacement partner, someone new, like you." "What do I do until then?" "Follow the protocol. Do the patrols on schedule. Keep the logs. Check the caches. Radio dispatch every morning at 7 and every evening at 1900. "Alone?" "You don't patrol alone. That's rule 1. You stay here. You do inventory. You do maintenance. You wait. For 2 weeks. "Yes." He handed me the keys, the folder with the protocols, and a small notebook with his handwritten observations. Then he shook my hand, the first and last time he ever did, and walked to the truck. "Delacroix," I said. He paused. "What is it? The thing out there? What does it want?" He opened the truck door. "I don't know, and neither did the woman before me, and neither did the man before her. We just know what it does, which is, it follows." He got in the truck, started the engine, and drove down the gravel road until I couldn't see him anymore. I was alone. The first 3 days were quiet. I did maintenance. I inventoried the storage room twice. I swept the floors, checked the generator, and tested each of the 12 keys. I radioed dispatch at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. The dispatcher's name was Lena. She had a calm voice, and she never asked unnecessary questions. "Outpost 16, morning check, status. All clear, no incidents. Supplies nominal. Copy. Weather advisory, front moving in from the northwest. Expect precipitation by Thursday. Confirm shelter protocols. Confirmed, shutters latched, generator fueled, backup supplies staged. Copy. Stay safe, 16. At night, I heard the footsteps. They came every night around 2:20 a.m., circling the outpost in slow, measured steps. They lasted exactly 30 minutes. I stayed in my cot with the shutters closed, and I did not look out. On the 4th night, something knocked on the door. It was 2:37 a.m. The footsteps had stopped 11 minutes earlier. I was lying awake, listening to nothing, when 3 firm knocks came from the front door. Not fast, not frantic, just 3 deliberate impacts, spaced evenly. I did not move. The protocol said nothing about knocking. But Rule 7 said do not respond to any voice from the tree line after dark, unless you can see the speaker's full body and face in direct light. The door had no window. I could not see who was knocking. I waited. A minute passed, 2. Then a voice. "Hello, is anyone there? I'm lost. Please, I need help." The voice was a woman's. She sounded tired and scared. She sounded completely human. I did not answer. "Please," she said. "I've been walking for hours. My phone is dead. I just need to use your radio." I stayed in the cot. My hands were flat against my chest. My heart was beating too fast. "Hello, I can see the light under the door. I know someone's in there." There was no light. The outpost was dark. The generator was off, and I had not lit a candle. I closed my eyes and I waited. After 4 minutes, the voice stopped. After 10 minutes, I heard footsteps again. They moved away from the door, toward the tree line, and then they were gone. In the morning, I walked outside and checked the ground by the front door. There were no footprints. The earth was undisturbed. There was no sign that anyone had been there. I logged the event. 02:37 hours. Knocking at front door. Female voice requesting assistance. Did not respond. Voice ceased after approximately 4 minutes. No physical evidence observed. Lena at dispatch asked about it during the evening check. I saw your log entry, she said. The knocker. Yes. You did the right thing. We've had others who didn't. What happened to them? Silence on the radio. Then, they opened the door. And? We sent recovery teams. They found the doors open. They found the outposts empty. Her voice was flat, professional. They never found the Rangers. On the 8th day, my replacement partner arrived. His name was Whelan. He was maybe 25, fresh out of training, with the kind of enthusiasm that made me tired just looking at him. He drove up in a Forest Service truck loaded with supplies and bounded out like he was arriving at summer camp. Ellison, right? I'm Whelan. They told me you'd been holding down the fort. I watched him unload boxes of food, batteries, and water. He talked constantly. He had done 2 seasons at Yellowstone, he said. He knew the backcountry. He wasn't worried about the isolation. They gave me the protocols, he said. Pretty standard stuff. Don't feed the wildlife. Don't leave food out. Check in with dispatch. Basic ranger stuff. I stared at him. What protocols did they give you? He pulled a folded sheet from his jacket pocket. It was a single page, maybe half filled with text. I recognized the header, Patrol Protocol, General Guidelines. It was not the same document Delacroix had given me. I took him inside. I sat him at the desk. I handed him the full protocol, the 14 numbered rules, and the 7 amendments. I watched his face as he read. This is a joke, he said. No. A second moon in the water. People walking backward. He laughed, but it was thin. Come on. I've been here 12 days. I've heard footsteps circling this building every night. I've had something knock on the door and pretend to be a lost hiker. I found a backpack in the middle of the trail that no one has claimed. I leaned forward. This is not a joke. Whelan was quiet for a long moment. Then he set the papers down and looked at me. Okay, he said. So what do we do? We follow the protocol, exactly as written, no exceptions. And if something happens, then we follow it harder. We patrolled together the next morning. North Loop, 8 miles. I walked ahead, Whelan behind. Every 3 minutes I called out. Every 3 minutes he answered. Every 7 minutes I counted. 2. Always 2. At mile 3, Whelan stopped. Did you hear that? I stopped. Hear what? Someone calling from over there. He pointed toward the tree line, maybe 30 yards to our left. I listened. I heard wind in the branches. I heard a bird, distant. I heard nothing else. I don't hear anything. It sounded like my name. Someone said, Whelan. I looked at him. His face was pale. His hands were tight on his pack straps. Rule 7, I said. Do not respond to your name being called from the tree line after dark. It's daytime. The rule says after dark, but the amendment says if you hear your partner's voice coming from the wrong direction, you don't respond. Same principle. It wasn't your voice. It was someone else. Then it wasn't anyone, not anyone real. I started walking again. Come on, we keep moving. We finished the loop without further incident. Back at the outpost, I logged the event. Whelan sat on his cot and stared at the wall. It knew my name, he said. Yes. How? I didn't answer. I didn't know. The second week with Whelan was a lesson in vigilance. He was smart, I'll give him that. He followed the protocol. He did the voice checks. He counted when he was supposed to count. But he asked too many questions. He wanted to understand things that weren't meant to be understood. "What if we set up cameras?" he said one night. "Motion sensors, trail cams, get some evidence." "They've tried," I said. Delacroix told me, "The equipment fails. Batteries drain in minutes. Footage corrupts. Memory cards come back blank." "That's not possible. It's happened. So we just, what? Accept it. We survive it. That's the point." On the 13th night, we heard the voice again. It was 2:22 a.m. The footsteps had started on schedule, circling the outpost in their slow, even rhythm. Whelan and I were in our cots, listening. We had been listening together for 5 nights now. He was getting used to it. His breathing was calm. Then the voice. "Whelan." It came from outside, near the south wall. A man's voice, low and clear. "Whelan, come outside. I need to talk to you." Whelan sat up. I watched him in the dark. "Don't," I said. "That's my dad's voice." "No, it's not." "I know my dad's voice. That's him." "Your dad is in Wisconsin. You told me. He's been there for 30 years. "I know, but..." He was breathing faster now. He sounds upset. He sounds like something's wrong. "Whelan. Whelan, please. I drove all the way out here. I just need to see you." I got out of my cot and moved to the door. I stood in front of it. "If you open that door, you're done. You understand. Whatever is out there, it's not your father. It's using his voice to get you outside. And if you go outside, you don't come back." Whelan was standing now. His face was wet. He was crying. "It sounds just like him." "I know, that's what it does." We stood there for a long time. The voice kept calling. It called Whelan's name. It told stories about his childhood, about baseball games and birthday parties, and things that only his father would know. It begged. It pleaded. It said it was sorry for things I didn't understand. At 2:59 a.m., it stopped. Whelan collapsed onto his cot. He didn't speak for the rest of the night. In the morning, he asked to be reassigned. I radioed dispatch at 7 a.m. "Outpost 16, requesting personnel reassignment. Ranger Whelan is requesting transfer." Lena's voice was neutral. "Copy 16. Reason for request?" I looked at Whelan. He shook his head. He didn't want to explain. "Personal circumstances," I said. "Copy. Transfer approved. Pick up in 72 hours. Until then, maintain protocol." I signed off and sat across from Whelan. 3 more days. Can you do that?" "I don't know." "You have to know. Because I can't patrol alone. And if you fall apart, we're both stuck here." He took a breath, then another. "Okay, 3 days." On the 15th day, we did the South Loop. It was the first time I had walked it. Delacroix had told me it was the most dangerous route, longer, more remote, and it passed the maintenance cabin at mile marker 12. We left at 9 a.m. sharp, planning to reach the turnaround by noon and return well before 4 p.m. The trail started flat, winding through dense stands of lodgepole pine. The caches came every 4 miles, same as the other routes. We inventoried each one. Contents correct, supplies intact. At mile 8, we stopped. There was a woman on the trail ahead of us. She was standing perfectly still, facing away from us, maybe 40 yards distant. She wore a ranger uniform, green jacket, tan pants, the standard issue. Her hair was dark and tied back. "Who is that?" Whelan said. I keyed my radio. "Dispatch, Outpost 16, requesting confirmation of personnel positions. Over." Static, then Lena's voice. "Copy 16, stand by." We waited. The woman did not move. She did not turn around. 16, this is dispatch. Confirmed positions. Ellison and Whelan, South Loop Patrol. All other personnel accounted for in alternate sectors. No authorized personnel in your area. Over. I looked at the woman. She was still facing away from us. Copy, dispatch. We have a visual on an individual in ranger uniform at mile 8, South Loop, requesting guidance. Over. A long pause. Then, 16, do not approach. Maintain distance. If individual does not make contact, proceed with caution. Do not engage. Over. Copy. We walked forward slowly, keeping to the far edge of the trail. The woman was maybe 20 yards to our right now. She still had not moved. She still had not turned. Don't look at her, I said. I'm not. Don't talk to her either. Just keep walking. We passed her. I could feel her presence just at the edge of my vision. I kept my eyes forward. Whelan did the same. We walked for another 100 yards before I let myself breathe. What was that? Whelan said. I don't know. She was wearing our uniform. I know. She didn't move. I know. We reached the maintenance cabin at mile 12 just before noon. It was a small structure, maybe 20 feet square, with a rusted tin roof and a single door. The windows were boarded. The door was padlocked. We don't go in, I said. We inspect the exterior only. I walked the perimeter, checking the foundation, the walls, the roof. Everything was intact. No damage, no signs of entry. Whelan stood near the door. What's inside? Tools, old equipment. That's what Delacroix said. Then why is it off limits at night? I don't know. How can you not know? You follow these rules every day. How can you not know why? I stopped walking. Because knowing why doesn't matter. Following the rules is what matters. The people who asked why are the people who aren't here anymore. He stared at me. Then he nodded. We turned back. The woman in the ranger uniform was gone. The trail was empty. We reached the outpost at 3:47 p.m., 13 minutes before the South Trail closed. That night, Lena radioed us directly. 16, be advised, weather front accelerating. Severe conditions expected within 24 hours. Precipitation, high winds, possible whiteout. Confirm shelter preparations. I confirmed. We sealed the shutters. We checked the generator. We staged the emergency supplies. We reviewed the protocol. There's a section I didn't give you yet, I told Whelan. Emergency protocols, for situations like this. I handed him a third sheet of paper, this one typed on faded yellow stock. The edges were worn. It had been photocopied multiple times. Emergency protocols, extended shelter conditions. 1. During a storm or other event requiring extended shelter, all patrols are suspended. Do not exit the outpost for any reason. 2. The generator must be checked every 4 hours. Inspections are conducted by 2 personnel. One remains at the interior door while the other inspects. Duration, no more than 90 seconds. 3. If the generator fails, do not attempt repairs after dark. Use the backup lanterns and ration battery usage. Resume repairs at first light. 4. During extended shelter, radio checks with dispatch occur every 2 hours. If dispatch does not respond for 3 consecutive checks, switch to channel 9 and broadcast the phrase, 16 requesting acknowledgement, confirm daylight. Do not transmit any other message. 5. If you hear knocking, voices, or other sounds from outside, do not respond. Do not open doors or shutters. Log the event and wait. Whelan read the protocols twice. This is what we do if we're stuck inside. Yes, For how long? Until the storm passes, or until dispatch tells us it's safe. What if dispatch can't reach us? Then we wait until daylight and make a judgment call. The storm hit the next morning. It came in from the northwest, like Lena had said. A wall of gray that swallowed the mountains within an hour. The wind started at 11 a.m. and built steadily. By noon, the trees were bending. By 2 p.m., I couldn't see the generator shed from the window. We sealed in, shutters latched, door locked, radio on, lanterns ready. The first radio check was at 2 p.m. Dispatch, Outpost 16, status check, storm conditions confirmed, sheltered in place, over. Lena's voice was faint, broken by static. Copy 16, maintain, protocol. Next check, 1600 hours, over. Copy, 16 out. We waited. The storm was loud. Wind hammered the walls. Snow or sleet or something else clattered against the shutters. The temperature inside dropped slowly, degree by degree. I monitored the thermometer on the wall. 58 degrees at 2 p.m., 54 at 4 p.m., 51 at 6 p.m. At 6:07 p.m., the generator failed. The lights went out, the heater stopped, the radio clicked off and then back on, running on battery backup. I'll check it, I said. Protocol says 2 people. I know, you stay at the door. I go out, check the generator, come back. 90 seconds max. I unlocked the back door that led to the generator shed. The cold hit me immediately. A wet, biting wind that cut through my jacket. The shed was maybe 15 feet away. I could barely see it through the snow. I walked. I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. 15 steps. The generator was dead. The fuel gauge showed half full. No obvious mechanical failure. I checked the connections, the battery, the ignition. Everything looked normal. Then I heard it. Footsteps, behind me, close. I did not turn around. I walked back to the door. Whelan was standing there, silhouetted against the dim interior light. "Get in," he said. I got in. He locked the door behind me. "Did you hear it?" "Yes." "How close?" 10 feet, maybe less. We stood in the dark, breathing hard. The storm screamed outside. The footsteps circled once, twice, then stopped. "Generator's dead," I said. "We're on backup power. How long will the radio last?" 6 hours, maybe 8. Less if we transmit frequently. We rationed the radio checks, every 2 hours instead of every hour. We used the lanterns sparingly. We ate cold food from cans, and we waited. At 8 p.m., the knocking started. It was soft at first. 3 knocks on the south wall near the shuttered window. Then silence. Then 3 more, slightly louder. Whelan looked at me. I shook my head. The knocking moved. It circled the outpost, tapping on each wall in sequence. West wall, north wall, east wall, then back to south. The rhythm was patient, deliberate. "It's testing us," Whelan said. "Yes." "What happens if we open something?" "We don't." The knocking continued for 47 minutes. I timed it, then it stopped. At 10 p.m., I radioed dispatch. "Dispatch, Outpost 16, status check, generator failure, on backup power, storm conditions continuing. Over." Static, heavy static. Then a voice. 16, this is dispatch, confirm, status, over. The voice was wrong. It was almost Lena's voice, but something was off. The cadence, the emphasis. "Dispatch, confirm call code, over." Silence. Then, 16, this is dispatch, all clear, open, south window, confirm visual, over. I looked at Whelan. His face was white. "That's not dispatch," I said. I switched to channel 9. 16 requesting acknowledgement. Confirm daylight. Static. I repeated the message. 16 requesting acknowledgement. Confirm daylight. More static. Then faintly, Lena's real voice. 16. This is actual dispatch. Acknowledge. Hold position. Do not respond to other transmissions. Repeat. Do not respond. Storm conditions expected through 0600. Confirm. Over. Confirmed, I said. 16 holding. I switched off the radio to conserve power. What was that first voice? Whelan asked. I don't know. It sounded like Lena. It wasn't Lena. It used the wrong code, yesterday's code. I sat down on my cot. Amendment 7. If you hear a transmission that uses yesterday's call codes, do not respond. So it can, what? Listen to our radio? Copy voices? I don't know what it can do. I just know we don't respond. The night stretched on. At midnight, the temperature inside had dropped to 43 degrees. We wore our jackets and huddled near the wood stove, but we couldn't light a fire without proper ventilation. And opening the flue meant opening a way in. At 1 a.m., the voice came again. Not on the radio. Outside the door. Ellison. My name. My exact name. Ellison, it's cold out here. Let me in. The voice was my mother's. I had not spoken to my mother in 3 years. She lived in Oregon. She had no idea I was in Montana. She had no idea I was a ranger. But the voice was hers. The exact tone. The exact phrasing. Ellison, honey, please, I've been looking for you. I just want to see you. Whelan was watching me. Is that my mother? Yes. What do? We do nothing. The voice pleaded for an hour. It told me it was proud of me. It told me it missed me. It apologized for things I had almost forgotten. It knew things it could not possibly know. At 2:15 a.m., it stopped. I checked my watch. Exactly 2:15. The radio silence window had begun. We waited in the dark. At 2:20 a.m., the footsteps started. They circled the outpost in their slow, measured rhythm. But this time, there were more of them. Not one set of footsteps. Many. 10, maybe 15. All walking in unison. All circling at the same pace. They circled for 30 minutes. At 2:50 a.m., they stopped. At 3 a.m., the radio crackled. I did not respond. The silence window was still active. The voice on the radio was Delacroix. Ellison, this is Delacroix. I'm at the North Trailhead. I need you to come get me. My truck broke down. I've been walking for hours. Delacroix was in Helena. He had transferred out 2 weeks ago. He was not in Montana. Ellison, please. I know you can hear me. The protocol says you can't respond, but just listen. I need help. Come to the trailhead. Bring the keys. I did not respond. The voice kept talking. It gave details. It described the outpost. It described Whelan. It described things about me that only Delacroix would know. From conversations we had had during his final days. At 3:15 a.m., the voice changed. Ellison. It was still Delacroix's voice, but the tone was different, colder. Ellison, I know you're listening. I know you're scared, but you can't stay in there forever. Sooner or later, you have to come out. Silence. Then. We're patient. We can wait. The radio went dead. At 6 a.m., the storm broke. The wind died. The snow stopped. Pale gray light filtered through the cracks in the shutters. I radioed dispatch. Dispatch, Outpost 16, requesting status update and storm clearance. Over. Lena's voice, real and clear. Copy 16, storm cleared. Current conditions safe for limited outdoor activity. Confirm generator status. Over. Generator failed during storm. Requesting maintenance team. Over. Copy. Maintenance dispatched. ETA 4 hours. Confirm personnel status. Over. 2 personnel, both accounted for. Minor cold exposure. No injuries. Over. Copy. Good work, 16. Dispatch out. I opened the south shutter. The light was blinding. The snow was deep, maybe 2 feet, untouched and smooth. There were no footprints, no tracks, no sign that anything had circled the outpost during the night. Whelan stood beside me. How is that possible? I don't know. There were dozens of footsteps. We heard them for 30 minutes. I know. But there's nothing, no evidence. There never is. The maintenance team arrived at 10 a.m. 2 men in a truck with tools and a replacement part for the generator. They worked for an hour, got the power back on, and left without asking questions. They didn't comment on the protocols. They didn't ask about the night. At noon, another truck arrived, Whelan's transfer. He packed his duffel in silence. He shook my hand at the door. I can't do this, he said. I'm sorry. I know. How do you do it? How do you stay? I looked out at the mountains. The sky was clear. The snow was already melting in the midday sun. Because someone has to, and because I followed the rules, and because I'm still here. He got in the truck and drove away. I watched until I couldn't see him anymore. For 3 days, I was alone again. I followed the protocol. I did not patrol. Rule 1, no solo patrols. I inventoried the supplies. I radioed dispatch. I waited. On the 19th day, a new partner arrived. Her name was Marsh. She was older than me, maybe 35, with short, gray-streaked hair and a face that looked like it had seen things. She read the full protocol without comment. She read the amendments. She read the emergency procedures. Okay, she said when she finished. Let's get to work. We patrolled together, North Loop, East Loop, eventually the South Loop. She was quiet. She followed the protocols exactly. But she did not ask questions. She did not try to understand. At mile 6, on our first South Loop, I asked her about her background. Yellowstone for 4 years, she said. Then Olympic for 2. Then here. Why here? Because I heard they needed people who follow rules. We passed the maintenance cabin at mile 12. She didn't look at it twice. Have you seen anything? She asked. Out here. Yes. What do you do when you see it? I follow the protocol. And that works? I'm still here. She nodded. That was enough. We worked together for 6 weeks. The summer turned to fall. The nights got longer. The footsteps came every night, circling the outpost in their patient rhythm. The voices came too, sometimes, calling our names in voices we recognized. We did not respond. One night in late September, we had a close call. We were returning from the East Loop, running behind schedule. The sun was setting, painting the mountains in orange and gold. We had maybe 40 minutes of light left. At mile 2, we found a hiker. He was sitting on a rock beside the trail, hunched over, head in his hands. He wore civilian clothes, jeans, and a flannel shirt, no pack. I stopped. Marsh stopped beside me. Sir? I called. Are you okay? He looked up. His face was blank, empty, like he was looking at us, but not seeing us. I'm lost, he said. I don't know how I got here. I felt my stomach tighten. Rule 12. If you find a hiker who does not remember how they reached their current location, do not escort them to the outpost. Keep them at the trailhead shelter until dispatch sends a vehicle. What's your name, sir? He shook his head. I don't remember. Do you have ID? A wallet? He patted his pockets. Nothing. Okay. I kept my voice calm. The trailhead is 2 miles east. We're going to walk you there. There's a shelter where you can wait. We'll radio for help. Can I come with you? To the station? No, sir. I'm sorry. Protocol. He stared at me. His eyes were wrong, too dark, too still. Protocol, he repeated. Yes. We walked him to the trailhead. He moved slowly, shuffling, like his legs didn't quite work right. Marsh stayed behind him. I stayed ahead. We did not let him get between us. The shelter was a small wooden structure with a bench and a roof. Nothing else. I guided him inside and closed the door. Wait here. Help is coming. He looked at me through the window. His face had changed. The blankness was gone. In its place was something that looked almost like amusement. You follow the rules, he said. Yes. That's good. The rules keep you safe. He smiled. It was not a human smile. But they don't keep everyone safe, not the ones who don't know the rules. I stepped back. Marsh was beside me, her hand on her radio. Dispatch, Outpost 16. Hiker found at East Trailhead. Requesting immediate vehicle for evacuation. Individual is confused. No ID. Unable to provide personal information. Advise. Over. Static. Then Lena. Copy 16. Vehicle dispatched. ETA 30 minutes. Confirm containment. Over. Contained at Trailhead Shelter. Personnel withdrawing to Outpost. Over. Copy. Do not engage further. Dispatch out. We left. We did not look back. The vehicle arrived 43 minutes later. I watched from the outpost window. 2 rangers in full gear approached the shelter. They opened the door. The shelter was empty. The rangers searched for an hour. They found nothing. No footprints leading away. No sign of where the man had gone. He was simply gone. Lena radioed at 8 p.m. 16. Be advised. Individual at Trailhead not located. Filed as missing. Incident logged. Copy. Dispatch. 16. Confirm no contact after initial encounter. Confirmed. No contact. Copy. Good work. Dispatch out. Marsh looked at me. What was that? I don't know. He knew about the rules. He talked about them. Yes. How is that possible? I didn't answer. I didn't have an answer. That night, I wrote a new amendment. Amendment 8. If a found hiker speaks about the protocol or demonstrates awareness of the rules, do not engage further. Contain at designated shelter and await dispatch. Do not transport to the outpost under any circumstances. I pinned it to the corkboard beside the others. Fall turned to winter. The snow came in early October and stayed. The patrols shortened. The nights lengthened. The footsteps came every night, and the voices too, and the knocking on the walls. We followed the protocol. In November, dispatch sent a trainee. His name was Carver. He was young, eager, green. He reminded me of Whelan, but quieter, more watchful. I gave him the full protocol. I gave him the amendments. I watched him read. This is real, he said. Not a question. Yes. What is it? The thing out there? We don't know. But it's intelligent. It learns. It knows our names. Yes. How do we fight it? We don't. We follow the rules. That's the only thing that works. He was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. We patrolled together, the 3 of us, for 2 weeks. Carver learned fast. He did the voice checks. He did the counts. He followed the protocols without complaint. On his 15th night, he made a mistake. We were in the outpost, locked down for the night. The footsteps had started at 2:20 as usual, circling in their patient rhythm. Marsh was asleep. I was awake, listening. Carver was at the desk, writing in his personal journal. He did this every night. I didn't ask what he wrote. At 2:33, a voice came from outside, a child's voice. Help me, please, I'm lost. I'm cold." Carver looked up. His face was tight. "Don't," I said. "It's a child." "It's not, you know that." "What if it is? What if there's really a kid out there, freezing?" "There's not. Listen to the rules. Don't respond to any voice from the tree line after dark, unless you can see the speaker's full body and face in direct light. We can't see anything. The shutters are closed." "Exactly." The voice kept calling. It was small and scared and desperate. It said please over and over. It said it was going to die. Carver stood up. "Sit down," I said. "I can't just..." "Sit down." He looked at me. His eyes were wet. "If you open that door, you die. Do you understand? Not might die, will die. Whatever is out there will take you, and we will never find you, and no one will ever know what happened." The voice outside got louder, more frantic. It screamed. Carver sat down. He put his head in his hands, and he cried, and the voice screamed for another hour before it finally stopped. In the morning, there was a child's handprint on the door. Small, perfect, pressed into the wood like a brand. Marsh saw it first. She didn't say anything. She just pointed. The handprint was not made of paint or dirt or blood. It was simply there, burned into the grain, as if the wood itself had remembered something. I logged it. Child's handprint on exterior door. Appeared overnight, 'cause unknown. No entry occurred. Carver stared at the handprint all day. He didn't eat. He didn't speak. At 7 p.m., he requested a transfer. "I can't do this," he said. "I'm sorry." "I know." There was a child's voice. A child. There wasn't. "How do you know? How can you be certain?" I looked at the handprint. "Because if it was real, it would have been at the door. It would have been visible, and there would be footprints in the snow. There's a handprint. Yes. That's evidence. That's proof. No, that's what it wants you to think. That's the lure. That's how it breaks you." Carver left the next morning. I watched the truck drive away through the falling snow. Marsh and I spent the winter alone. The protocols grew. The amendments multiplied. We added new rules based on what we observed, what we survived, what we learned from the things that didn't quite work. Amendment 9. If a handprint, footprint, or other marking appears on the outpost after nightfall, photograph it, but do not touch it. The marking will fade within 72 hours. If it does not fade, radio dispatch and request evaluation. Amendment 10. During periods of heavy snowfall, do not attempt to clear paths to exterior structures. Wait for daylight and confirm the area is clear before any outdoor activity. The handprint faded on the third day, just as I had predicted. January was the worst. The storms came one after another, pinning us inside for days at a time. The footsteps circled every night, louder now, more numerous. The voices called constantly. They used names of people we had known, people we had loved, people we thought we had forgotten. One night, the voice was my father's. He had died when I was 12. Heart attack, quick and final. I hadn't heard his voice in over 15 years. But that night, he spoke to me through the walls of the outpost. He told me he was proud of me. He told me he loved me. He told me he was waiting just outside, and all I had to do was open the door. I did not open the door. Marsh was beside me the whole time. She didn't ask questions. She didn't offer comfort. She just sat there, steady and silent. And when the voice finally stopped, she handed me a cup of cold coffee, and we waited for dawn. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" "For not asking. There's nothing to ask. We all hear them. We all want to open the door." She shrugged. The difference between the ones who make it and the ones who don't is that we don't. February brought a different kind of test. We were on the North Loop 3 miles out when we saw it. A deer, standing in the middle of the trail, maybe 50 yards ahead. It was walking backward. Its legs moved in perfect reverse, hooves lifting and placing in an uncanny mimicry of natural motion, but wrong, completely wrong. It walked backward toward us, closing the distance steadily. "Rule 8, Marsh said. "I know." We turned around. We walked, then jogged, then ran. We did not look back. The outpost was 37 minutes away. We made it in 24. When we got inside, we locked the door and sealed the shutters and sat in the dark, breathing hard. "Did you see its eyes?" Marsh asked. "No." "Good. Don't look at the eyes." I didn't ask how she knew that. Some things you learn the hard way. Spring came slowly. The snow melted. The trails opened. We resumed full patrols. Dispatch sent new personnel. A rotation of partners, some lasting weeks, some lasting days. I trained each one. I gave them the protocols, the amendments, the emergency procedures. I watched them struggle and adapt, and sometimes fail. Some of them made it, some didn't. In April, a partner named Reyes made it 4 weeks before cracking. He opened a window at 2:23 a.m. to verify that the footsteps were real. He saw something outside. He never described what. He resigned the next day. In May, a partner named Okonkwo lasted 3 months. She was methodical and precise, even better than Marsh. She followed every rule, logged every incident, trained a replacement before she left. Her transfer was a promotion. She went to work at dispatch headquarters in Helena. I stayed. By June, I had been at Outpost 16 for 14 months. I had survived 3 major storms, 17 near breaches, 1 generator failure, and countless nights of circling footsteps and pleading voices. I had written 12 amendments to the original protocol. I had trained 9 replacement partners. I was tired, bone-deep tired, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. But I was alive, and I was precise, and I was ready. In July, they sent me a new partner. Her name was Doll. She was older than me, maybe 40, with calm eyes and a steady voice. She had spent 6 years at a research station in Alaska and 2 years at a fire lookout in Wyoming. She had worked remote posts her entire career. She read the protocols without comment. "Questions?" I asked. 1. Why do you stay? I thought about it. I had thought about it many times. Because something has to be between what's out there and the people who don't know it exists. The hikers, the tourists, the families on vacation. They walk these trails every summer, and they have no idea what follows them. No idea what watches them from the tree line. No idea what's waiting. And you're the barrier. We're the barrier. Everyone who works here, who follows the rules, who stays alive long enough to pass the rules on. We're what keeps it contained. Does it work? Mostly. Mostly. We lose some every year. Hikers who vanish, personnel who crack, people who don't follow the rules. I looked out the window. The mountains were green now, lush with summer. But fewer than there would be otherwise, far fewer. Doll nodded slowly. Okay, I'm in. We patrolled together for the rest of the summer. She was good, maybe the best partner I had worked with. She memorized the protocols in 2 days. She suggested 3 amendments that improved our response times. She never questioned the rules, but she understood them in a way that most people didn't. She understood that the rules weren't arbitrary. They were the accumulated wisdom of everyone who had come before. Every rule existed because someone, at some point, had learned it the hard way. In August, I started preparing my departure. Not a transfer, I wasn't leaving the service. But 14 months at Outpost 16 was enough. Dispatch had offered me a position at the Helena office, coordinating protocol for other remote posts. It was a desk job mostly, paperwork and radio calls and occasional training sessions. I accepted. Before I left, I compiled everything, all the protocols, all the amendments, all the emergency procedures, all the logs, the observations, the near misses, and the actual losses. I bound it into a single folder, 200 pages thick, and I handed it to Dahl on my last night. "This is everything," I said. "Every rule we've developed, every incident we've documented, every survival pattern we've identified." She took the folder. "You're sure you want to leave this with me?" "Someone has to carry it forward. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. And if I fail, then the next person learns from your failure, and the protocol gets a little better, and we save a few more people." She opened the folder and looked at the first page. It was the original protocol, the 14 rules that Delacroix had given me on my first day. Below it were my additions, my amendments, my emergency procedures. At the bottom of the page, I had written a note. "To whoever reads this, the rules exist because they work. Follow them exactly. Do not improvise. Do not question. Do not assume you understand what you're dealing with. You don't. None of us do. All we know is what keeps us alive. Be precise. Be vigilant. Pass it on." Ellison Dahl closed the folder. "Good luck," I said. "You too." I left the next morning. The drive to Helena took 3 hours. I watched the mountains shrink in my rearview mirror, the Absaroka Range growing smaller and bluer until it disappeared behind the horizon. I thought about the outpost. I thought about the footsteps and the voices and the deer that walked backward. I thought about all the nights I had spent in the dark, listening to things that wanted me to open the door. I thought about Whelan, who couldn't take it, about Carver, who almost broke, about the partners who made it and the ones who didn't. I thought about the hiker at the trailhead, the one who knew about the rules, the one who smiled. "We're patient. We can wait." I kept driving. At the Helena office, they gave me a desk and a radio and a stack of files. My job was simple: monitor the remote outposts, coordinate responses, maintain the protocols. I worked regular hours. I slept in a real bed. I ate meals that weren't cold beans from a can. For the first few weeks, I thought I was fine. Then the nightmares started. Every night, the same dream. I was back at the outpost. The footsteps were circling. The voices were calling. But in the dream, I couldn't remember the rules. I couldn't remember what to do. The door was open, just a crack, and something was reaching in, and I couldn't close it in time. I woke up sweating, tangled in sheets, my heart pounding. The nightmares faded eventually. But the vigilance didn't. I still checked locks twice before bed. I still avoided looking at water after dark. I still flinched when I heard footsteps behind me on a quiet street. Some things stay with you. Some things become part of who you are. 6 months after I left the outpost, I received a radio call from dispatch. "Ellison, this is Central, patching through from Outpost 16. Dahl's voice came over the speaker. She sounded calm. She always sounded calm. "Ellison, thought you should know. We had an incident last night." "What happened?" "New partner. Been here 3 weeks. Did everything right until last night. 2:27 a.m. Voice outside. His sister, he said. She's been dead for 5 years. I closed my eyes. Did he open the door? No, he opened the window. And we found him at dawn. He was sitting on his cot, staring at the wall. His eyes were open, but he wasn't seeing anything. He didn't respond when I spoke to him. He didn't respond to anything. Where is he now? Hospital in Bozeman. They're calling it catatonic shock. They don't know what caused it. But we do. Yes. I was quiet for a long moment. Then, you need anything? No, just wanted you to hear it from me, and to tell you the protocol's held. I didn't lose him to the door. I lost him to a moment of weakness, a single moment, a window instead of a door. The protocols can't protect against everything. I know, but they protected me. They've been protecting me for 6 months. That's something. Yes, that's something. I'm adding a new amendment about windows during voice events, specific language, specific consequences. Good. Thanks, Ellison, for everything you built. Pass it on. I will. The radio clicked off. I sat at my desk for a long time, looking at the maps on the wall. The Absaroka Range, the patrol routes, the outposts, marked with small red dots. Somewhere out there, in the dark forests, and the high meadows, and the cold alpine lakes, something was waiting. Something was following. Something was patient. And somewhere out there, in a small log building at 7,000 feet, someone was following the rules, staying alive, passing it on. I turned back to my paperwork. The work continued. A year later, I was promoted to regional coordinator. My job expanded to cover a dozen outposts across Montana and Wyoming. I reviewed protocols, approved amendments, trained new personnel. I never returned to Outpost 16, but I kept in touch with whoever was stationed there. Dahl lasted 18 months. Then she transferred to administrative. Her replacement was a man named Voss, who lasted 2 years. His replacement was a woman named Ikeda, who was still there when I last checked. Each of them added to the protocol. Each of them survived. Each of them passed it on. The folder grew thicker. 300 pages. 400. A compendium of rules and observations and survival patterns accumulated over years of vigilance. I kept a copy in my desk drawer, sometimes late at night, when the office was empty and the building was quiet. I took it out and read through it. Not because I needed to. I had memorized every word, but because it reminded me. It reminded me of who I was, what I had survived, what I was still fighting. On the last page of the folder, after all the protocols and amendments and emergency procedures, there was a final note. I had written it on my last day at the outpost. Just before I gave the folder to Dahl, it said, "Something follows hikers in these mountains. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it wants. We only know what it does. It watches. It waits. It learns our names and our voices and our deepest fears. And when we are weak, when we are tired, when we forget the rules for just a moment, it takes us, but we can survive. We have survived. For years, for decades, we have kept the barrier intact. Follow the rules. Trust the protocols. Stay vigilant. And when it's your turn to leave, when the time comes to pass the burden on, make sure the next person understands. Make sure they're ready. Make sure they're precise. The mountains are beautiful and the trails are endless, and the thing in the dark is patient. But so are we." I closed the folder and put it away. Outside my window, the sun was setting over the Helena Valley. The mountains were purple in the distance, fading to black as the light died. Somewhere out there, in an outpost at 7,000 feet, someone was locking the shutters and checking the radio and preparing for another long night. Somewhere out there, the footsteps were starting to circle. And somewhere out there, someone was following the rules, staying alive, passing it on.